3 up, 2 across, tap that play button 3 times, and walk through the archway into Dialogue Alley. Hello and welcome to the podcast. Dialogue Alley is a show about Harry Potter books, book translations, and all other things magical. I'm Erik from Nocturne Erik on Instagram, and with me today is Melanie from the Harry Potter collection.
Hi!
And we have a guest today. We've talked about him a few times on the show, but he is here live in person with us, and it is Harrison. Hi, Harrison.
Hey there!
How are you doing?
Doing really well. I'm really excited to be on Dialogue Alley.
Well, good. We're excited you're here. I think we've thrown your name around many times, just randomly. Yes. And so that'll be actually nice for people that have listened to the show to learn a little bit more about you. So I think we ask all the guests that come on the same thing. So how did you get into Harry Potter? Kind of what are you into collecting? And maybe even just a little bit about yourself as a person, if you want.
Well, I got into Harry Potter in that break between Goblet of Fire and Order of the Phoenix. My father brought home the first 4 audiobooks for me from the airport. And actually, I'm totally blind, so that's how I experienced them, was through the Jim Dale audiobooks. And that's how I continued to experience them as the stories came out. So I'm a Slytherin, and I like to collect the first book in all different languages in print, and then all the audiobooks in various languages. A lot of people don't realize there are several, both officially and fan-made audiobooks. In fact, during the pandemic, a lot of new audiobooks were made that were fan-made, and more about that probably in another episode. I love to collect the audiobooks and the books and minorly other various small Harry Potter collections that are floating around, like fun facts collections.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Cool.
Well, and it's so cool that you mentioned that during the pandemic, these unauthorized audiobooks came out, and I wasn't even thinking about it, but it makes sense, right? I mean, we have unauthorized translations of books, and the people living in the countries that speak those languages probably want an audiobook as well. So,
and for official translations that don't have an audiobook.
Right. So that's a market that I didn't even know existed until we had talked about that couple.
I imagine it would be like such a fun thing to do if you're home and it's a pandemic and you've got nothing better to do. Let me just read the whole Harry Potter book out loud, record myself saying it because I may or may not have it in that language. Like, I would listen to someone with like a really nice accent that I've never met before and never heard of reading a Harry Potter book. That would be awesome.
That's a good point that, like, I mean, everyone kept saying, like, we're out of things to do during the pandemic. Wow, here's something that'll take up 24 hours of your time. Record book 1 and audiobook.
Right? It's not bad.
Oh, all right. Well, Harrison, we're glad you're here with us today. And we kind of have a special diversion of an episode. I think Melanie and I had kind of one of these before, but Carly's not with us today. She's busy moving some stuff back and forth between her old place and her new place again. So we're kind of doing another little filler episode, but it is not in a bad way. We have some trivia questions that Carly herself has written and sent to us. And the 3 of us will kind of duke it out and try to answer them. And we will invite all of you listening to answer along as well.
Yes. May the best Hufflepuff win.
Or Ravenclaw.
No, it's not a contest.
So I think we'll try to stick to the format as normal as we can. So let's bop in quick to some Harry Potter news.
So, for news, there's nothing too crazy, but we will say that the Taiwanese Book 5 is out. So, anyone that's following along, that set's been, like, released here and there. And I know, Erik, I feel like you and Carly have talked a bit about, like, how you guys are ordering, like, a couple of them at a time, which I would love to get in on because I don't have any of them yet. So, now that Book 5 is out, I think it's time for another pickup.
Yeah, now that book 5 is out, that means I don't have 3, 4, and 5. So we definitely need to make another order. And Harrison, you were telling me a little bit about Taiwan recently kind of had more of like a shutdown due to the pandemic in the past couple weeks even, right?
Yeah, someone brought the pandemic into the island, and they're up to, it was like 2,000 some cases as of a few days before recording this. Considering they only had about 100 cases the entire first year, yeah, they're struggling a bit.
Yeah, and so I'm curious then when we go in to order these, and they're really easy to get. I think it's buybook.tw. And
no, it's books.com.tw.
Oh, books.com.tw.
Confused with buybook.ba.
Yeah, don't go to buybook. I think that's what language is buybook?
That's buybook.ba. That's Bosnian.
Bosnian. Yeah, well, we were just talking.
I was going to say I get emails from them all the time.
And you know what? I think I just saw one recently as I was thumbing through my emails when I was emailing the questions to you. But yeah, I've had no problem ordering these books from Taiwan with a little help from Google Translate, and it's been pretty simple, Simon, and the shipping's been amazing. So I'm curious to see if that's changed at all with the recent situation that's going on regarding COVID. So we'll see. And Harrison, you speak Taiwanese, correct?
I speak Chinese, yes.
Okay. Have you listened to the audiobooks of both traditional and simplified Chinese?
There is no traditional Chinese audiobook. I've been lusting after one for years, but there isn't one. I have read it in traditional Chinese or had it read to me, but there is no audiobook.
Well, if someone's listening and you have a lot of time on your hands,
there you go.
Audiobook project for a listener.
Harrison, quick follow-up. How many languages do you speak?
12.
That's insane. I can't even fathom that. I don't think my brain has that capacity.
You know, and a lot of it was due to Harry Potter. Harry Potter has been described as the Rosetta Stone of the 21st century, and us as collectors should understand that, most of all, that you really can.
Yeah, absolutely.
When Sean was on, Sean McAllister, when we talked about ways to find rare translations, he actually mentioned that he equates his personal Harry Potter library to the Rosetta Stone. So that if one language somehow becomes extinct, they can dig up his library and the remains of his house hundreds of years from now and use it to piece together languages that have vanished, which theoretically could happen, which is kind of exciting.
It's awesome. It really is. That's probably like the coolest thing about like all of our collections is that we have so many different languages that we get to be exposed to because of it. So
that is true. And Harrison, we should quickly mention too, we talked about your Apple Watch app that you've been developing for translations.
A few weeks ago it was mentioned, I'm developing and have released to the App Store an app called Go Talker. And it's a travel app. So if you're going to a country and trying to find the Harry Potter book in the local language, well, basically it's got over 900 of the most essential travel phrases in all different languages. We have, as of now, French, Spanish, Greek, Russian, Chinese, and Japanese. And in any of those phrases, you can look up over 900 of the most essential travel phrases, including where can I find a Harry Potter book in the local language?
That's so important. And I need this app.
I need an Apple Watch first. Melanie, I know you have one.
Yeah, I just got one. Like, I need to get this app because that's always, I had mentioned a few episodes ago, if we go to another country where they speak a different language, I need to make sure that I can say, where is the nearest bookstore or where are your Harry Potter books? Mm-hmm. So I think having that would be so crucial.
Harrison, do they have like an Easter egg? Do you have like a picture of the book cover like show up on the app when you ask for the book?
I wish.
You just hold your wrist up to someone like,
although that's a good idea. Thanks for the idea.
Oh yeah, no problem. Well, anything else news related? Melanie, you were in the city recently. Any New York update with the Harry Potter store that's opening?
Well, I'm going to the store on opening day, which I'm so pumped about. I know that one of the things that they released recently was they discussed how they're going to handle crowds, and there's not going to be any type of line to get into the store. They're going to do everything with a virtual queue, which is really cool. especially now that like COVID restrictions are kind of lifting a bit. So people have the ability to walk around outside, and you'll just get a call time that you need to come back to the store. So you could pop back over and you don't even have to wait. So I am super excited to go. I think we're going to try to get there like first thing in the morning. And I think I'm meeting a friend there.
Do you have
so
a fireplace?
I will discuss that after.
Flew over to your house so we can
I don't. I wish. You can apparate if you have your license, though.
Destination, determination, deliberation.
Man, what are the three? That should be a trivia question. What are the 3 Ds that like the kids call the guy?
Oh, God, I don't know.
Oh.
Do you remember?
I'm going in my head. Dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge. But I know that that's wrong.
And speaking of trivia questions,
I think that's all we have for news. So should we get to the trivia segment here?
Let's do it. All right. All right, so I have the questions in front of me. Now, here's the thing, is that Carly wrote all of these questions, so I don't have the answers in front of me. I just have the questions, so even though I'm reading them, I don't have the answers. So, all right, guys, which one of you would like to
I have the answers in front of me, but I'm going to, like, scroll up. So I'm not going to reveal more than one answer, so I can't see the answer until I'm ready to scroll up and we can discuss it.
Sounds great.
Eric, why don't you kick things off?
Yeah? All right. So, question 1. In Goblet of Fire, what move did Victor Crumb use against Ireland to win the World Cup in 1994?
Ooh. Well, that would be the Wronski feint, although if you're Hermione, you call it the wonky feint.
The wonky
Do you remember
feint.
that part?
Yes.
Yeah, she's not a very Quidditch savvy individual.
No, and that's one of that's during like the feud where like Ron and Hermione aren't talking because he's all into lavender brown, and she says something to Harry about wonky feints, and Harry's like, I wish I could tell Ron
something like that. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Let me scroll up here. It is the Wronski feint.
The Wronski feint. Every time I hear that, like, I know that that's not something that's mentioned in the movie, so I hear it in Jim Dale's voice. And Harrison, I'm sure that that's something that you could relate to as well. I feel like I always hear everything in his voice.
Definitely. Although I've been on the Stephen Fry ones lately for the last year, so it's that voice that I hear.
Ooh.
I have too. I actually went through the Stephen Fry ones for the first time this last go around that I had.
Fun.
I have them, but like I feel like I'm so committed to Jim Dale that like I don't know if I've tried listening to Stephen Fry, but like Jim Dale is just
we'll talk about this on our audiobook episode, I'm sure, but like we all have preferences.
Oh, yes,
and I think mine is Jim Dale because I listened to it first, and I mean there's various reasons, but I feel like people that listen to whichever one first are going to favor that one just because
yeah, of course,
that's what they're used to hearing.
All right, we ready for question 2?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Harrison, this one's all you. In Philosopher's Stone, on what day does the story of Harry Potter start?
Hold on a second.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, great. Tuesday.
It's Tuesday. How did you know that?
I had to spin back my mind to the audiobook.
What? How does it start? What's the phrase?
On the dull gray Tuesday on which our story starts.
Oh, that's true. That's it.
And I feel like that's the first time that she like uses a different tense of people. Like it's always from one perspective, but that's the first time and only time she would say our. Mm-hmm. Like our story begins. That's so good.
That's crazy. Now I should mention too, these are all book related questions. So if you're waiting for a movie one, it's not going to happen right now. All of Carly's questions are book related. She wanted me to plug that. So thanks, Carly.
All right. Eric, would you like to do this next question? I'll read I could still read it.
No, this one's for you.
My question? Oh, that's great because I'm reading it already and I'm like, I don't think I know the answer to it. I'm like, I know number 4. I'm rusty on my trivia. I used to be so much better. I'm so sorry. Okay, so the question is, in the Chamber of Secrets, or not in the Chamber of Secrets, in Chamber of Secrets, who wrote A Beginner's Guide to Transfiguration? Beginner's Guide to Transfiguration.
Oh my gosh, that's a very hard question.
No, because I feel like one of you guys is going to say it, and then I'm going to be like, ugh, I should have known that.
I don't know it. Harrison, do you know?
I think I remember now.
Melanie, what's your guess? Celestina Warbeck?
Oh, she could sing the book to me. Oh gosh, I have absolutely no idea. The second Harrison says it, I'm going to be like, yeah, that's definitely it. All right, what do we think it is?
Emmerich Switch.
It is Emmerich Switch. Again, how did you know that? I have no idea.
Again, it took me like 20 seconds to bring that back.
Ah.
All right, well, Eric, you'll probably get this question. So this is your question.
Oh, good.
It's number 4.
What's Harry's last name?
Oh, man, I would have known that. All right. In Chamber of Secrets, what is Professor Lockhart's favorite color?
Oh, it's lilac.
You should have known my favorite color was lilac.
I say so in... Oh, don't tell me. Is it Gadding with Ghouls?
I don't know.
Oh, I don't... Does that say that in,
no, it doesn't.
In Carly's answer key?
No, it just says lilac, but he mentions
bonus point.
Bonus point. I don't know.
I don't know.
I think it's Gadding with Ghouls.
Oh, boy.
It's when he does that stupid, like, quiz for all kids.
The quiz that he hands out to see who knows him the best.
Right, it has nothing to do with anything. It's just who likes me the most.
Yeah. All right. Question 5. So, Harrison, this one's for you. In Chamber of Secrets, what does Mrs. Weasley make Fred, George, and Ron do after returning to the burrow with Harry?
Denome the garden.
It is Denome the garden.
Yes. I knew that one.
I got really giggly when I read that for the first time. Like, just getting this image in my head of them just chucking these, like, potato-looking things over the wall.
Well, I liked Harry's idea of it. He's like, gnomes? Like those little Santa Claus-looking things?
Yeah.
He's like, no, like, it's these little potato-looking things. Like, those are the gnomes.
Right. And this is a scene not in the movie. There's no denoming the garden in the movie.
I know. There's no gnomes. It would, I guess,
But
just too much CGI.
There was one in either the video games or Pottermore, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm sure.
And I feel like that's a video game level in and of itself. Like, hey, what can we do to make the player take up like 10 minutes of time? Oh, they can try to round up gnomes and throw them out of the garden.
Just make sure you make them nice and dizzy.
Yeah, so they don't find their way back.
Okay. So is this question mine?
Questions for you.
All right. In Chamber of Secrets, when importing the mandrakes, who is in Harry's group? Like, I guess when they're repotting the mandrakes, does she mean?
Yeah, I'm looking at the answer right now, and it's, like, when they're having to repot the mandrakes, who is in Harry's group? Who's at his table?
Justin Finch Fletchley?
Yes.
Yes. Because we had to introduce that new character that was Muggleborn, so then he could later get attacked.
We do.
Like, we had to introduce another Muggleborn character to later attack him. So, yes.
In the most inconspicuous way possible. And actually, Carly's answer key says Harry, Ron, Germaine, and Justin Finch Fletchley.
Oh, I wouldn't have known Germaine.
No, it's autocorrect for Hermione.
Oh. I'm like, who's Germaine?
Germaine, he doesn't talk. He just sits there at the table.
Germaine's just the little boy that sits in their little herbology class. Oh, gosh. That's ridiculous. All right. Sorry, guys. All right, next question. All right, so we're back to Eric.
Yeah.
In Prisoner of Azkaban.
Oh, that's my favorite book.
How do Hermione, Ron, and Harry find Crookshanks?
Crookshanks is at the pet store, which I believe is called the Magical Menagerie. And Ron goes in there to get the rat tonic, and Crookshanks just jumps on him from who knows where. Ceiling? Rafters? Shelf?
I always pictured it as like, and it's funny because I have this in my house, like just a shelf that goes like all around like the entire perimeter of the magical menagerie.
Oh, like you'd put like a little model train on?
Yeah, that sort of thing. I have one of those in my living room.
No way, you do?
Fun.
I do. I don't have the
my
train,
goodness.
but I have a shelf that goes around the whole perimeter of my
You need a
living room.
train
It's
on
very
that
cool.
thing.
That's what everyone says, but we're not trained people.
You need a
I mean,
Hogwarts Express train on
I was gonna
that thing.
say.
I've been saying it for years. Maybe when my husband listens to this episode, it'll be like a kick that he needs for us to get it. That would be lovely.
Oh, it would be. I looked at Carly's answer key. He jumped on Ron at Magical Menagerie. Yes, I think we'd count that.
Yeah,
I would count that as correct. Well done. All right, Harrison. In Prisoner of Azkaban, who does Gryffindor beat in order to win the Quidditch final?
The final. Okay, there was that weird match rearrangement thing, so Slytherin.
It is Slytherin.
Yeah, Prisoner of Azkaban has the most Quidditch matches of all of the books. And what's interesting is, like, I feel like movie people don't necessarily realize that, like, Cedric Diggory is introduced in Prisoner of Azkaban as being the Seeker. Cho Chang is introduced in Prisoner of Azkaban as being the Seeker. And then we have Draco Malfoy is also the Seeker. So we know all four Seekers only in that year, which is kind of cool.
That's true.
And yeah, and I think there's 3 Quidditch matches in Prisoner of Azkaban.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Is
and
it
one of
at
them
least
the
2?
chapter is called Gryffindor versus Ravenclaw.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the chapter. It's a Quidditch match. So if you're a Quidditch fan, read
There you go.
book 3, which is, again, my favorite book, not because of the Quidditch, but I think it's because they introduce so many characters and the plot really gets a little thicker in book 3. I think that's really why it's my favorite.
But...
Yeah, book 4 builds on book 3. I never know. I always just have to pick one, though.
Oh, mine changes all the time, but like I've been pretty consistent that book 6 is my favorite as of late. Like I'm pretty stuck on book 6.
Okay.
I always get excited when I'm up to it. Also because book 5 is my least favorite, so once I'm done with it, I'm like, oh, thank goodness, I'm finally up to book 6. Okay, great.
There you go. All right, I think it's your question for yourself.
Oh, goodness. Okay, I hope I know the answer. In Philosopher's Stone, who says, nearly headless? How can you be nearly headless? Well, in the movie, it's Hermione. In the book, I believe it's Seamus.
It is Seamus Finnegan in the books.
Oh,
Well
Thank
done.
goodness.
I thought it was
Thank
Hermione.
goodness.
Oh, wow.
It's definitely Hermione in the movie.
I know, but that's really bad because I don't watch the movies. Like, I should not be the person getting those two things conflated. It's just pop culture, I suppose.
Well, I feel like, too, it doesn't... Like, they're introducing the characters in such a way, like, their personalities really haven't formed. So, like, the stuff people say doesn't seem to be very, like, attributed to them necessarily in, like, that first half of book 1, at least.
True.
Like, anybody could say anything. Like, it's not like you hear something in book 5 and you're like, oh, I know who says that. It's obvious just by the way it's phrased. It just seems like it's...
I feel like it's good that you only have, like, the book knowledge, though, too, because I feel a lot of times, like, the movies almost dumb the characters down a bit. Like, I feel like Hermione wouldn't necessarily ask who Nearly Headless Nick is, because she would probably know that because she goes to the library and reads about everybody and knows all of the history and whatnot. So I feel like she wouldn't be like, how could you be nearly headless? Because she would probably know, oh, like, they hit him and didn't hit him through all the way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Oh, it's not a
All right.
question. It's not a question, but Harrison, how many times did Nearly Headless Nick get hit with the blunt
47, I
axe?
think.
I knew you'd know that one.
All right. Next question. So Eric, this is for you.
That's me. Yeah.
In Order of the Phoenix, on the Hogwarts Express, what happens when Neville pokes his new plant?
Oh, the Mimbulus Mimbletonia. I don't know if it stinks sap, but it's some sort of smelly goo that just like explodes out of there.
Yuck.
And the part of that gets me every time is like I can't remember who gets it in their mouth, but they like get a whole bunch of it in their mouth. Someone gets a mouthful, it says. And I'm like, that just sounds awful. And then like, of course, the girl he's crushing on, Cho Chang, comes right in. She's like, hey, how you doing? And they smell like stinky goop.
Ew.
That just goes to show you that when she developed feelings for Harry, they must have been genuine. If their first, like, flirtation was him, like, covered in stink.
True. But it would also be pretty shallow of her if she just was like, actually, I don't like you anymore because some accident clearly happened in here and you got covered with smelly goo.
That is true. What does the answer say?
Goo splatters the entire compartment.
Ugh. All right. All right, guys. I think we're doing pretty good so far.
We're doing pretty well, too.
I think so.
We have a few more questions. Okay, so Harrison, this one is for you. In Order of the Phoenix, what are the gifts Hagrid and Olympe bring to the giants? That's a tricky one.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
The first one was the fire branch, the branch of everlasting fire. The second one was the battle helmet, and the third one was the dragon skin.
Wow.
Yeah, you got them all. Do you know the name of the fire?
No.
If I tell you it starts with a G, does that help?
Galbraithian fire.
Yeah, you got it. Nice job.
Oh my gosh. Woo. That is like one of the trivia questions. I would get that question and be like, who knows the answer to this? Like, how can you possibly know the answer to this?
Well, that would be a question where like they would not accept like stick of everlasting fire. They'd be like, nope, you need to tell us the name of the fire.
Mel, I'm taking you to
gosh.
trivia. I know of still a few Harry Potter trivias that run online. I'm taking you to one someday.
All right, I'll go.
I
do
would
that.
let's go.
Yeah,
We should do it. We
I
should
would
team
love
up.
to.
Team up.
That would be great. And it would also be mortifying if we didn't win.
Yes. Well, I'll let y'all know.
We would have to reach out to whoever does win. We're like, do you listen to our podcast? Because if you don't, I think you should.
At that point, we should have like little business cards with our podcast on it and just like leave it scattered throughout the entire.
Well, it's
Oh, I
an
do that
online-
already.
trivia
Everywhere I
thing.
go, like the gas station, I just like drop a bunch of them on the floor.
That's what I did.
No,
I
know.
did that
don't
at
do
Comic-Con a few years ago. No, I actually did that. I went to New York Comic-Con, I think the last time they had it, and had my Harry Potter collection business cards. And anytime there was a Harry Potter anything at the con, I left one of my cards there. And I actually had people message me saying, hey, I found your card at Comic-Con. So cool.
Oh, okay,
like-
it works. Maybe
awesome.
Melanie, maybe you should bring a bunch of stuff to the opening of the Harry Potter store.
Well,
Then you
We'll
get
have to
then you
see.
get banned from the store for a year for like
oh gosh.
promoting it.
Oh, that would make me so sad.
Oh,
That
would be.
store's like basically in my backyard. Like I have to just go as frequently as I possibly can.
All right, next question.
All right.
It's for you.
Oh goodness. Okay. In Half-Blood Prince, whose memory does Dumbledore show Harry during their first meeting of the year? Okay, so I believe their first meeting, they go into it. I know the memory. Like the first one is when they go to the Gaunt house. And I'm picturing in my head a cute little man, and he's walking down the alley, like walking down the lane, and there's a snake on the door, and I can't remember his name. I can't remember his name. I'm awful.
Starts with a B
I fail.
and then an O,
Bo.
and then another B.
Bob?
Yeah.
Bob Ogden.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Bob Ogden. Oh, gosh. All right. Bob Ogden. Oh, I'm so embarrassed if I don't know these. I'm gonna get ripped apart.
What are you gonna get? You're gonna get howlers from your friends and family.
I am. Like after every single episode, my husband listens to it like the day that we launch it, and he like always gives like his feedback and what he thinks about every single episode, and he's gonna be like, wow, you're really rusty. I knew the answer to that, because he's been listening to all of my audiobooks like on constant loop in his car, so I only hear bits and pieces of it anytime I drive in his car with him. So I'm rusty. Guys. I'm so sorry.
Well,
All right.
if you have like 112 hours to spare, you can quick go through the rest of the books.
I know, and then I just feel bad because I don't want to listen to them on my end, even though it is my Audible that they're on. I don't want to listen to them because I don't want to like mess him up by any chance of like have him lose his place or anything like that. So I don't know. Maybe I'll just start listening to them again so I can sharpen my skills. All right.
Ask me a question.
I'm ready. In Half-Blood Prince, at Slughorn's party, who does Slughorn introduce Harry to?
Oh man. Well, it's an author, and the author guy brings a vampire named like Linguini or something like that. I don't know the author's name. It's an author that wants to write a book and do a book deal for Harry, and Harry just like says no and walks away.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can I try?
Yes.
I think I remember his name. I think his name is Warple.
It is Warple. It's Eldred Warple. Oh, and Sanguini's on here too. Okay, so I'll give
Linguini.
Sanguini. I'm going to give myself 1/7 of a point.
You deserve that. You deserve every 7th of that.
Sanguini, that's right. And then Sanguini's like eyeing up some girls over like by the food area. And he starts like inching toward him, and then Warple like pulls him back, and he's like, no. 'Cause he's like, wants to go eat him. I'm like, ah.
Oh my goodness.
Creepy. All right, Harrison's turn.
All right. In Goblet of Fire, what is the name of Barty Crouch's house elf? Oh, if Julie's listening, Julie loves all the house elf questions.
Winky!
It's Winky.
Oh.
Not in the movie. No movie character there.
No, oh my gosh. Julie is like, that's like her like house elf question. She loves like asking questions about the house elves, and Julie dresses up like Winky the house elf. Oh, amazing. I miss all my Harry Potter friends so much. That's why this is so amazing that we get to talk to each other.
That's what Harrison was talking to me about that too, just like collecting, like just talking about collecting. Like fills a void of like not actually having any books coming in.
It does. Oh, I didn't even talk to you guys about the books that I got. All right, we'll chat about that another time.
Okay.
Okay. All right, next question. I guess this one is mine.
That's for you.
Okay. Oh God. Okay. And Deathly Hallows, what does Harry find in Sirius's old room at Grimmauld Place? Oh, he finds the letter from Lily. And like the picture, but the bottom of it was ripped and part of the picture was ripped, which we later find out that Snape took those things so he could have a piece of Lily's love and hold on to it. I knew the answer to one, guys.
I think that answer is like far superior to the actual answer that is written out here. A letter to Sirius from Lily.
Oh, I just went overboard because I was so happy that I knew the answer. Oh, okay. Whew. I feel better. All right. Erica, are you ready?
I sure am.
Okay.
Aye.
In Deathly Hallows, which Hogwarts student is traveling with Griphook, Ted Tonks, and Gornock when Harry overhears them about while they're talking about the Sword of Gryffindor?
Oof, I'm on this audiobook right now, and it is Dean Thomas, and they ask if he is Muggle-born, and he says, my dad left my mom when I was a kid, so they'd have a hard time proving it even if he was a wizard.
Oh, poor Dean.
Poor Dean. The answer is Dean Thomas.
Amazing. Well done, sir.
But I don't want to say literally because this was like maybe a week ago, but I quite recently was listening to that chapter.
So good. All right. There's this question, and then there's one more question after this. All right.
One more for each of you.
Excellent. All right, Harrison. In Deathly Hallows, what quote is written on James and Lily's grave in Godric's Hollow?
Oh.
Okay, I'm done. I don't know. It's some Bible verse.
It is?
No, it's the last enemy that'll be defeated is death?
Yes, which is, I believe, a Bible
I don't know.
Is it? Interesting.
You're talking to the Jewish girl. I don't know the Bible.
Hey, they share the Old Testament.
That's true. I know. We got the same old stories, but I don't know the new ones.
The answer says, the last enemy that shall be destroyed is death. Yeah, I think that's close enough.
Yeah.
I will remember that.
The last enemy that shall be destroyed is death. I remember it being very perplexing to Harry, and then Hermione, like, gives him what she interprets it as, and he feels better.
Yeah. Huh. All right. Last question, and thankfully I think I know the answer to this, or if I didn't know the answer, I would be mortified. In Deathly Hallows, what was the last line of the book? And the last line of the book was all was well.
It is all as well. Are you sure it's not, and it was all a dream?
No, but I know that when Joe was originally writing it, the last line ended with something like, Harry never again felt the pain in his scar, and she just didn't like the fact that, like, the last word of the book was scar, so she liked ending it with well, like that it ended on like a more positive note.
I remember reading that was like officially released to the press, I think, was that it was like a teaser that the last word in the book was going to be scar. Like, she revealed the last book was the last word was scar.
That tricky Joe. She loves changing things.
I don't know. I think it should have been, Harry woke up to a knock, knock, knock on his cupboard door. That should have been like the only line in the
Time for school, said Aunt Petunia, and he got on the bus. No, they probably don't have buses in the UK.
Oh.
All right, Harry, how about this one? Harry woke up and said, "Whoa, that was a crazy night." The end.
Oh,
end.
God. Oh, God.
All right, Harrison, I want to hear
I've
your
got
questions.
2 more questions I'm going to throw.
All right, let's go.
Guys. So, Mel, the first one is for you, and that is, can you actually pronounce and name the Yiddish translator?
Wait, I have to have the book in front of me.
No.
Like, I can't read it in Hebrew?
Nope. You just have to
know
just say it.
No, I don't know it off the top of my head.
Okay, then
can you read it in Hebrew, though?
Yeah, I might be able to.
Oh, okay.
I think that would just be cool for cool's sake.
Let's see. I actually have it right next to me, which is nice and convenient.
Steve Thompson.
Let's see. It's hard because I have to find the word, like, publisher or translator. Yiddish translation. Oh, it's probably Aaron is his first name. Aaron Schlechter. Aaron Schlechter Viswanath is what it says.
Yep, I've heard it pronounced. And yep, that's pretty close. And for you, Eric,
yes.
There are 7 Harry Potter books, as you know. I'm talking about the U.S. printing here. So I'm talking about like the Mary Grand Pré art. How many pages are there combined in all 7 books?
Oh my gosh.
394.
Can I get within it like a certain number?
I'll give it to you within 200.
Within 200. Oh, I was going to say within 50. Okay, 200 is good. Man. Hold on, I need a pen. I'm getting a pen, everyone. You can probably hear my rustling.
What's sad is that you know how many there are in the individual books.
Well, I have a guesstimation in each individual book, and I'm writing them down.
Okay.
30,000 pages in book 5. All the rest are smaller.
Okay, and then...
Carry the 1.
Hold on, I'm still writing numbers down. I haven't added yet. And this, I'm using a wand pen. It looks like a wand. I don't even know where I found this pen. It was just sitting on my shelf. It's magic.
Naturally.
That's amazing.
Okay, that book has the most pages. That one's got a little bit less.
Oh my god.
And then that one's got... Does that one have less or more?
I don't know which one you're thinking about.
Well, you should be looking in my head right now. Okay, now I'm doing math, everybody. I teach English, but I'm teaching math, but I teach English, but I'm doing math. Okay, fine. 5. Okay, we can edit this down.
I know, I was going to say,
Thinking.
it's a lot of think time there.
Okay, if my math is right and my brain is right, and I'm within 200, right? I can be within 200?
I'll give it to you within 200.
Okay, I have a rough guesstimation of 5,202.
Oh my god, like, I wish I could give that to you, but it's 4,224.
Womp, womp,
Do you have each one listed out?
I do not. This was a number that was fed to me with, actually, the funny story about this one is I had posted a very difficult trivia. I'd hosted an extremely difficult trivia during the pandemic, and I literally had a nasty email saying, how am I supposed to remember this one fact that came within 4,224 pages of... And then I, tracked back and figured out, like, it was the American edition. I
that
the
works.
totals and
Wait, can I give you my breakdown for each book that I wrote?
Yeah, let's hear
Tell
it.
me tell me where you think I went wrong. I put 250 for book 1, 300 for book 2, 350 for book 3. I think that's a little over. Maybe? I don't know.
Maybe?
But then I put 1250 for book 4, 1500.
Okay, that's over.
That's over. Is that over 1,000 pages?
Oh, no. Book 4 is 551 pages in Icelandic, so I think it's about 700 and some in English.
Okay, then I way over. That's probably where I went wrong. And then I put 1500 for book 5, 700.
No, that was about 900
Yeah.
in book 5.
And I was looking at the spines on my shelf.
It's okay. I know, they seem big.
Actually, I was going off the Greenlandic book 5, which would probably be 9,000 pages long.
Wait, but you don't have a Greenlandic
I know,
book 5.
there isn't such thing.
Someone got extremely nasty with me after a very, very difficult trivia.
Well, the point of, if you get every trivia question right, that's,
And we called it super hard HP trivia.
right. I remember when you were setting this up, I sent some, I promoted it, I think, on my page.
Yeah, you probably did, because I would have asked you to.
Yeah, and I remember even adding a disclaimer, this trivia is going to be very hard.
Yes.
I think I wrote experts only. I think I wrote that.
Mm-hmm, yeah, we meant for it for the experts. We were just pissed off at how easy the other ones were, so we...
Did you find it, Melanie?
No, I'm getting annoyed. Everyone's like, this is how many my editions have. So I can't,
Well, I could just get the books out, but I feel like that'd be...
I know, and I'm reorganizing my shelves so I don't have them quick at hand.
And I actually don't have a full set in English.
Huh.
Oh.
Well, as freaking weird as this is, why would I? I mean,
I suppose that's
my
true.
collection is all book 1s, so why would I have a full set in
That's
English?
true. Well, should we just skip on to the translation of the show?
Yeah,
Yes.
let's skip on to the translation
Yes,
of the
please.
show.
All right, well, now that we're thoroughly perplexed as to how many book pages there are, and you know what, if you're out there and you haven't memorized how many pages are in each of the Mary Grand Pré hardcover US books, please send us an email, because I would like to virtually shake your hand. Or a virtual high five, whichever you prefer. All right, let's move on to the translation of the show. Okay, so for today's translation, Harrison actually requested this one, and we are going with Swedish.
Yay!
Yes, Swedish.
Yay! And Harrison, what made you pick this one?
The Swedish is... It's one of my favorite languages. I've been obsessed with Nordic noir for as long as I can remember, and I learned Swedish, and I actually, barring any resources, I actually used the first book in Swedish in audiobook to learn Swedish, and that actually had a funny effect, because the only audiobook I had was a Finland Swedish copy, so the first time I talked to my Swedish teacher, she noticed I had a very thick Finland Swedish accent, which she worked very hard to eradicate.
Oh, gosh.
But yeah, no, Swedish. It's a really nice book. It's got its own art for most of them, I believe.
Yeah, we talked about the art last show, right, Melanie?
Yeah, because we all have favorites, with the Swedish art. I mean, I didn't mention that Swedish is one of my favorites, but originally, Swedish book 3 is, in my top 5 favorite books. I just didn't get to talk about it last week because we have so many favorites, but the Swedish art is so unique and so beautiful. And definitely if you would ask most collectors out there which one of their favorite cover arts would be, like, people would say Swedish. So
yeah, and at my old house before I moved, I had like a shelf where I would display 6 books like face out on the wall, and Swedish was always on there. No matter what like my 6 were that I would change out, Swedish was always on there because it was just so cool. And that's the one that people would actually say like, what is this? They'd pick it up and say, where's this from? Because it's just it's eye-catching. Mm-hmm. So
it's a great book. It was originally published by Tiden Förlag, and then it was bought out, I suspect, sometime between 2007 2009 by Rabban Sjögren, which is a children's publisher, and they were able to, on the down low, silently, and a lot of collectors don't even know this, make all sorts of changes to make the text flow, things that we didn't know when the translation was beginning, but we knew after Deathly Hallows they sort of went through and, cleaned it up a bit and made everything consistent and stuff.
Like what, for example? Do you have anything that you...
So, for example, the Mirror of Erised at first was called Erased Spegeln, so Erised Spegel, which is mirror. And then they change it to Mördspegeln. If you take Mörd and go backwards, backwardsify, you get Dröm. So Drömspegeln, the dream mirror.
Ooh.
And the other one was Neville's grandmother was referred as to his mormor, because they in Swedish you have 2 words, mother's mother, mormor, and father's mother, farmor, and we didn't know. So in the beginning it was mormor, but it was changed to farmor afterwards, after, everything we learned.
Right.
So little things like that.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I think Carly and I talked about this really early on when, like, it got to a point after, I think, book 3 even, or maybe it was after book 4, where translators didn't even get the book ahead of time. Like, because they were worried about all the spoilers being leaked. So they just kind of kept everything under wraps until the book came out, which actually delayed a lot of the translations coming out.
Mm-hmm. Although, speaking of the translator, this translator, Lina Frisiedin, she translated all 7 Swedish books. She was born in 1931.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, she was born in 1930. If I remember, because she was like 60-some when the book started, and she really didn't become quote-unquote famous until she really translated Potter, so quite late in life. But she, I don't know how, I guess, old she is, but she was still translating when Harry Potter and the Cursed Child came out. She did translate Harry Potter and the Cursed Child into Swedish, so do the math.
Wow.
Oh, that's cool. And I think it's always commendable, and I don't know how this works legally, but I mean, there are quite a few translations that have different translators for different books, even though they're the same publisher, for whatever reason, right? I don't necessarily know why, but like, she's one of the books, Swedish, it's the same person for all 7, which I think, I don't know, you would think if you were the one doing it, you would have like a way better handle on how you want things to sound when you get to the later books if you've been doing it this whole time. I don't know. That's just what I'm thinking in my brain. I don't know anything about translating books, so I don't know. Should we get some Swedish facts here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Who doesn't love some Swedish facts? There's more than 10 million speakers of Swedish. It's an official language in Sweden and Finland, like Harrison mentioned, and also the Åland Islands. Harrison, do you know about the Åland Islands?
I do. First of all, did y'all know that Swedish was not an official language of Sweden until 2009?
Wow.
I heard that somewhere. Unverified fact. In all honesty, I've never actually looked that up, but that's what I heard. The Åland Islands are a group of fishing islands that are sort of a territory of Finland, but they're Swedish speaking, and if you go there, just about everything is in Swedish. So there's not much more to tell.
And then there's another fact here that you could probably give some credence on here, that it's a mutually intelligible language with Danish and Norwegian.
Yep. pretty much. I can understand Danish. I can understand Norwegian, other than some of the weirdness they did to that translation, which is something I should save for another show.
And
But
the
yeah.
the article I read did say, like, obviously languages that are mutually intelligible. If you're speaking with a particularly strong regional accent from somewhere, that it makes it more difficult for speakers of those other languages to understand you. So
Sure.
I think that's true with English as well, depending where you're talking.
Well, I
to
met a
someone from.
missionary who had been in Norway for 10 years and was back in San Antonio, Texas. And we were able to communicate in Swedish and Norwegian.
Wow.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Well, there's actually quite a bit of Swedish and Norwegian speakers where I live. It's kind of the number one original immigrant group
Wow.
to this part of the country. I live in Minnesota. So, I mean, Harrison, that's what your Swedish teacher is.
Yeah, my
Lives
Swedish
here.
teacher was from Minnesota. And when I went to Minnesota, I got to meet both Erik in person and my Swedish teacher in person.
Aw, that's so precious.
And he got to go to the Minnesota State Fair.
Yes.
Wow.
I got to go to the Minnesota State Fair.
I was super jealous. We just had our daughter. I have 2 kids, and we just had our daughter, our first child, at that time. So I was only able to catch up with Harrison to have dinner, but he wanted me to go to the fair with him, and I'm like, man, I wish
It's
I had
funny.
more time.
There's a collecting story around the fair that even Erik doesn't know.
I think I do know it.
and
I
that
think
is-
you told it to me.
Okay, maybe I did. So at the fair, there's usually a $15,000 lottery. It's like a scratch-off ticket, and Erik was selling a Gujarati book at the time when I visited him, and I am still missing a Gujarati book. So I turned to my coworker. I said, if I win this, then you need to drive me up to the place where he lives, and you need to drive me up tonight, because I'm leaving tomorrow. So you need to drive me up there tonight.
You just picture like you knocking on Eric's door saying, Eric, I got the money.
I got
I got it.
It's all in
I
fives.
know, and it would have come in cash, and I would have been handing him like a wad of cash
That would
for
have been
the,
amazing.
the Gujarati book.
But there's another. So I didn't know that story, but I did know something. Was it Valencian or Kamai? That, like, you actually
Probably
brought a
both.
book back with you.
Oh yeah, that's right. It was Valencian. You sent it to me, and then I didn't know I was going to Minnesota, so like it kind of traveled back and then back and.
Yeah, so
Aw.
instead of like mailing it to you, I could have just waited till you showed up, and I could have just handed it to you. It would have saved me $5. But oh well.
And me a backpack full of anguish.
No, but then I had to mail you pickles too, so that evened out.
That's true. That's true.
Oh, man.
Harrison became obsessed with these certain pickles that you can get at one of our Eastern European delis.
Yum.
Oh, good stuff.
Well, I think the last thing we should say about the Swedish books, maybe just like round it out, is that
Yeah.
the cover art that we were talking about, like that beautiful cover art, we mentioned this last week too, like you could still get that. Like it's still available for purchase to get those, but they are starting to phase them out because there is new cover art that was released. So it's available. I think it's only those two. Is it available in other cover art?
I think it's just those two, to my
I
knowledge.
can't
Right.
think of any.
So
And I know I had a former colleague who's retired who does courier trips with organs. So even during the pandemic, she was still traveling around the world delivering these medical tissues to people,
Wow.
which is super commendable, right? And she was going to Stockholm, and she was like, "Hey, do you need any books?" And I said, "Hey, yeah, get me books 2 and 3 in Swedish that match the cover of this one." And I sent her the original book 1 cover, and she was able to just walk into a bookstore and buy books 2 and 3. So they're readily available still, but I don't know for how much longer, because they did come out with that second wave of cover
I mean,
art.
I
So-
think the only like different books are, I know that there was like a box set that came out of books 1, 2, and 3 where they had dust jackets. But it still was
I
that
believe
original
so,
cover
yes.
art. I have book 3 of that set without the dust jacket, but it's one of my favorite books that I have because it doesn't have any text on the front. It literally is just the
Right.
image. So I'm like, oh, this is like my favorite cover art, and you could literally just stare at this book without it being like blocked by any kind of logo. So I don't mind the fact that I don't have that whole little set, but it does exist.
Right. Well, that's like a frameable cover too. Like you probably never would frame it, and I probably wouldn't either. But it's totally frameable
beautiful.
because there's no text on it.
It's beautiful. What a beautiful book.
So that about does it for this episode of Dialogue Alley. We didn't have any time for listener mail. I promise we will get to that next time. But in the meantime, if you do have questions for us, you can always send us an email to dialoguealleypodcast@gmail.com. You can also find our podcast Instagram page at Dialogue Alley Podcast. We post pictures of things we've talked about on there, and you can also send us direct messages there as well. So I'm Eric. I'm on Instagram at Nocturne Eric. That's all I'm at, so you can't find me anywhere else. Haha. That's where it is. And Melanie, how about you?
I'm Melanie. I'm at the Harry Potter Collection on Instagram. I'm on other things, but I will be honest and I don't keep up with them very well. So Instagram is the best place to find me, or you can always check out my website, which is theharrypottercollection.com.
And I'm Harrison. I'm really not on much social media. If you want to reach me, honestly, the best way, I'm really good friends with these two. So if you want to reach me, and Carly as well. So if you want to reach me, like, they know where to find me.
Aw.
Yeah, I think that's fair. If you have a question for Harrison, just let us know and we'll pass it along to him and he can get in touch with you.
Absolutely.
Anything y'all need about audiobooks and other sundry questions about that, I'm usually the person to go to.
Oh, and I can't wait to have you on again to do some more deep dives into some of those topics. So if you're listening right now and you're interested in that, be rest assured he will return.
Yes.
With a vengeance.
Oh, definitely. I feel like we have so many things that we want to talk to you about, Harrison. So you'll be back.
At the very least, you could just read the first paragraph in 12 different languages, and then we could just end the episode.
Well, I know you could always check that out at like Carly's website too, Harrison. I'm sure you make quite the appearance at The Book Who Lived.
The Book That Lives. Yeah, I do. We have over 80 or 90 recordings on The Book That Lives website.
So cool.
Which is, that's a super cool project. So, Harrison's on there. That's where you can find him. You could listen to him speak Russian on The Book That Lives project. I'm assuming you have a Russian recording on there?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. I just threw it out there because I know it's one of your 12. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for listening. I hope you had fun answering some trivia questions with us today. I sure did. I don't know about you two.
Oh, I did.
Oh, this was fun.
It was fun and embarrassing at the same time.
It's not embarrassing.
I know. I'm just rusty. I don't like getting things wrong.
You're a rusty cauldron?
I'm a rusty cauldron right now, guys. I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's funny. Anyway, all right. So thank you so much again, everyone. Remember, you can find Dialogue Alley Podcast on Apple, Google, Spotify, anywhere you download streaming things or stream things, especially iHeartRadio and Pandora. Those are our number one.
Oh, yeah.
For downloads. Whew. I think they've been gotten like 2 each for me, like testing that they were on there. So they're on there. Anywho's, now it's time to walk back through the archway. You can grab a drink from your favorite porous pot pub, chipped chalice, and head back into your daily lives. And we'll catch you next time on Dialogue Alley. Thank you so much.
See ya.
Thank you.